Welcome to Andico Australia. I'm David Jones, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Liebherr WS17800 triple zone wine cellar, 178 bottle capacity. And bear in mind that whenever we use bottle capacity for wine cellars, it's always measured on a 750ml Bordeaux bottle, and that's a standard across the board. So, having a look at the unit itself, first thing you'll notice obviously is the styling. Beautiful stainless steel finish, will blend in with any decor. So stainless steel door, but also stainless steel panel on the side and on the top. So complete stainless steel cabinetry. Very, very important for style and look. Having a look at the door, obviously glass, so that gives us the visual effects of the unit. And the glass itself is double glazed. Double glaze basically means that any change in the outside temperature will not affect the wine inside, so we won't get any temperature fluctuation, and that's very important for the storage of wine. The other thing with the glass door is it is tinted, so it's got UV protection. The important thing is we need to keep as much UV light out of the unit as possible, because UV light will affect the tannins in the wine, affect the colour of the wine, and it can also affect the labels on the wine. So UV protection keeps the UV light away from inside the cabinetry, which is very important. The door itself, obviously, stainless steel, perfectly sealed, quite a heavy door, so very, very solid unit. But when we open the door and we have a look inside, the first thing that we'll notice is the control panel. Centrally mounted so that we can see exactly what the unit is doing, what temperature it's at site with the door closed. Very important for us to know exactly what temperature it's set at and make sure that it hasn't been changed in any way. The other thing with the door is, talking about changing of the temperature, we have a door lock mounted at the top. So we can actually lock the door and protect our investment and make sure that those temperatures don't accidentally get changed. Inside, as I say, triple zone wine cellar, so 3 individual temperature zones. Temperature setting between 5 and 20 degrees. Now the temperature setting between 5 and 20 degrees means that we can store. Inside we have an alarm system, so that alarm right now is telling me that obviously the door is open, so for the purpose of the exercise I'll actually turn that off, but that's a really good safety feature just in case we leave the door ajar. It will let us know exactly what's going on. So back to temperature, 5 to 20 degrees each one, so we can store any type of wine that we like at the perfect temperature for serving for us or for storage for longevity. For storage with this particular unit, the bottom zone is actually the larger zone, so we can actually use that for storing champagnes, white wines, heavy reds, all at the same temperature, let's say 11 degrees, and put them all away. And then we can use the 2 other zones for serving temperatures, anywhere again between 5 and 20 degrees for champagnes, whites, reds, etc. So the temperature we can set to suit our type of wine and the temperature that we prefer to drink at. The other thing that's extremely important inside a Liebherr wine cellar is the humidity. Humidity level setting on a Liebherr is between 50 and 80%, and that depends upon the ambient humidity. But again, the average of that is 65%. Now 65% is the perfect average to make sure the humidity is right, to make sure that if we have wine under cork, the cork doesn't shrink or expand, we don't allow air in or wine out. Also with screw caps have a seal as well, and if the humidity is not correct, you can actually have the seal dry out, and that will allow air in, and obviously too much air damages our wine. So the humidity level is extremely important. Inside you'll notice that the shelving is on telescopic rails in all of the zones in this particular unit, and the shelving itself is natural beechwood, untreated, so no varnishes, no stains. Varnishes and stains on any shelving inside a wine cabinet are introducing foreign odours, and that's exactly what we don't want to do. So we use natural beechwood with no stains on. The other thing about the natural beechwood shelves, it allows the bottle to rest correctly. It supports the bottle during its storage area. And the important thing with wine is it needs to be allowed to lay flat and just be unhindered by movement, etc. If we have wire shelves, for instance, we can get movement. So the timber shelves will make sure that our wine will rest comfortably, and that's extremely important. So that's shelving. Also inside, we have a charcoal filter, an activated charcoal filter. There's a charcoal filter in each one of these individual zones, which means that should we have this in a cooking area, for instance, where we've got odours outside, the charcoal filter, because the unit breathes, will actually filter those odours out and purify the air inside the wine cellar. Very important to keep the odours out. Again, we don't want that interfering with our wine storage. So, charcoal filter. The lighting you'll see in this particular unit, LED. Now, LED lighting is a cold light, which means that it's not going to increase the temperature in the cabinet if we leave the lights on, which we can. And it's also a softer light. Again, going back to UV, we don't want too much bright light in there, so the softer light will allow the wine to rest comfortably and age correctly. The other thing I mentioned about the shelving is it supports the wine bottles themselves, so that should we get any movement, we're actually cradling them. The other important thing is we have a compressor down in the bottom of the unit, and the compressor is mounted on individual rubber mounts which are actually separate from the cabinet, which means that when the compressor starts up, and they vibrate when they start up, we don't get any of that movement transferred into the cabinet and therefore disturbing our wine. Very important. One of the other things that we talk about, temperature, etc., which is extremely important. Say, for instance, we had one of these zones set at 15 degrees and our ambient temperature actually dropped below that, cold night, etc. The Liebherr wine cellars have a heating panel and they will actually reverse the process. So to make sure that our temperature stays constant, which again is extremely important, the Liebherr wine cellars can actually increase the temperature inside to compensate for the cold outside. Very important way of looking after our wine and our wine investment. So, recapping, stainless steel, double glazed, UV protected door, control panel centrally mounted, so it's much easier for us to visually see what's going on. Temperature range between 5 and 20 degrees in any one of the three zones. Humidity between 50 and 80%, which gives us our perfect average of 65%. Shelving, untreated natural beechwood, which cradles the bottles and allows them to rest for longevity. Activated charcoal filter in each one of the zones, so the air is kept purified. LED lights, cold and soft light to not raise the temperature, and there again keep out too much harsh light. Compressor mounted on individual rubber mounts so that when it does start it doesn't vibrate and interfere with the resting of the wine in the cabinet. So that's the Liebherr WS17800 triple zone wine cellar.